Breaking news. After a dramatic night, the House of Representatives has voted to advance Trump's big bill in what is the final nail in Republicans' own coffin. There is no way to campaign on this bill as it is so big, it adds $5 trillion to the debt. It strips Medicaid away from millions of Americans, and it's 900 pages of straight garbage. That's why you see Republicans throughout the night going on Fox News, just sweating their asses off, unable to even defend the bill that they just voted on while trying to pressure the other Republican holdouts. Unfortunately, most of the Republican voteouts flipped, save one Republican from Pennsylvania, Brian Fitzpatrick, who ran off the House floor after switching his vote essentially and unexpectedly voting no, and couldn't really be found throughout the rest of the night. So this brings me to the absolute mess of a night that I want to break down. Then I'll talk about the actual ramifications of this bill because we cannot forget about that. But again, the big bill has passed the vote to advance through the House. Now the House votes on reconciliation. Let's start here, where Sean Hannity asks Speaker Mike Johnson, have you talked to the four holdouts? Have you talked to all of them? And Speaker Mike says he can't find one of them. This is after reports that Brian Fitzpatrick ran off the floor.
Let's talk about the 4 nay votes that are on the board right now. I assume you've spoken to all 4 of them. What indication are you getting from them that they might be willing to switch?
Well, I have spoken to all of them, and at 3 of the 4. I'm trying to find the 4th one, but a couple of those are still waiting for some of those questions to be answered, and they're just sort of putting placeholders on the board, and I think they're open for conversation.
He said, I'm trying to find the 4th one. After Brian Fitzpatrick ran off, he was the only one to not vote on it because he's in a vulnerable district. Then we had sweaty Republicans going on Fox News, and they're just begging Trump to hop on and try to bust the balls of any Republican. Watch.
And just now, Trump on Truth Social said the following: for Republicans, this should be an easy yes vote. Ridiculous. Just now, the president is still up. If he's watching, Mr. President, call in. We will do some coercion together. Yes. And that's the whole thing.
We will do some coercion together. I mean, there's a very high chance Trump was watching Fox News at the time, but what a desperate act from both the president and Fox News. The Republicans, this should be an easy vote of yes. Now I want to show you this clip of Tim Burchett being called out on CNN after he claims that the CBO can't be trusted. The host goes, somebody introduced an act for all of us to trust the CBO 2 years ago, and it was you. Watch this beautiful moment. And by the way, make sure you drop a like and join the Mockler feed below. Regularly, in tough times like this, when everything is going on, right-wing content on YouTube generally gets prioritized by the algorithm, but we're trying to push back and beat that. So subscribe below, and let's check this out.
I'm just waiting out to hear just exactly everything. We've been breaking it down piece by piece.
So you're taking issue with the CBO estimate here?
Yes, ma'am, I do have an issue with it. The office is very partisan. I mean, 85% of the people in their healthcare division identify as a Democrat, or they've contributed to Democrats, or they're registered Democrats. They're leading, I believe their leading economist is that. We ought to do away with these organizations because we use them when we like them. We don't use them when we don't like them. And you've got a bunch of bureaucrats in here that are on a lifetime gravy train. And frankly, we've got independent agencies that can do that. We have people up here with accounting degrees that can do the math. So I feel like that is a waste of taxpayers' money.
So in January 2024, there was a Republican who trusted the CBO so much that they reintroduced a resolution to require the House clerk to read the CBO estimate of any bill. I believe that was you, sir, the 3rd time you introduced that resolution. Is that right?
That's correct, ma'am. Of course, and that proves
but
just
you
what
don't
I
like
said.
You don't like the CBO now.
Ma'am?
But you don't like the CBO now. You introduced that resolution over multiple years, but now you're dissing the CBO.
Did the bill pass?
Your resolution?
Did the bill pass? Yes, ma'am.
You introduced it, sir.
I know
It's
it, ma'am,
irrelevant.
But did it pass? They never pass because nobody wants any verification. It proves my point. When it serves us well,
you took a
when
stance
it
and you were
serves us well, we're for it. But when it doesn't, we don't. So
you're clear about where you are
like,
on the CBO. I just want to say, but just to get to where you said earlier that you were closer to voting yes after speaking with the president. I saw the vice president sent you put a nice tweet up that you responded to. What did the president say to you that made you feel maybe closer to voting yes?
He talked about the economic output that we would have that was not in the CBO scores. And along those lines, he talked about other things that I'm not going to share, but
I can almost guarantee Trump wasn't talking about economic output. Throughout the night, he was sending out panicked tweets that said, for Republicans, this should be an easy vote yes. Ridiculous. Largest tax cuts in history in a booming economy versus biggest tax increase in history in a failed economy. What are the Republicans waiting for? He then says the USA is on track to break every record on growth, but it's a lie. Look at this, for example. If you want to talk about breaking records, we're breaking records for the GDP shrinking quarter by quarter. Quarterly growth at an annualized rate is now beginning to be in the negatives in Q1 of 2025 after Trump's term begins, and he's over here saying we are on track to beat every record. It's not true just because you say it. Here's someone on Fox News saying we didn't vote for Thomas Massie. Like, where does Fox News find these people that don't understand the fundamentals of civics?
Might be leaving out.
Yeah, well, I just think it's interesting that all of a sudden people voted for Thomas Massie. Like, I don't remember voting for Thomas Massie with this. I remember voting for Donald Trump to get this bill passed. And I feel like a lot of Americans who voted for Donald Trump feel the same way, especially not only with Thomas Massie, but a lot of the other Republicans who are kind of leaning towards no.
Where does Fox News find these people? Yeah, we didn't vote for representatives. Representatives don't represent us or anybody in their districts. What are you talking about? People voted directly so that the president doesn't have the unilateral power to strip away their Medicaid. People voted because they want representatives and senators out there on their behalf who understand their specific tailored needs. The president of the United States is not going to understand the needs of every single district in Kansas, but the representatives that ideally grew up in those districts will understand. They'll definitely understand. Here's Representative Luna saying the American people are making their voices heard. This was essentially the moment that Thomas Massie switched to no. So as she was saying this, the American people were making their voices heard by stalling the bill.
I don't believe that these people are fully locked in this position. I think that the American people right now are making their voices heard. They
were making their voices heard when she said this. Here's the thing. All night we saw representative after representative going on Fox News, all sweaty, and trying to lobby for it last minute until finally we saw some success. Now, Democrats are on the House floor trying to delay. It's all they can do. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is sitting there speaking and speaking and speaking, trying to delay. Right here, we have Representative Linda Sanchez of California. She had a pretty good speech.
From California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I flew overnight through thunderstorms and flash flood warnings to be here to stand up for my district this morning because Republicans refuse to stand up for theirs. I've been in Congress for over 20 years, and I've never seen such cowardice from my colleagues across the aisle. Time and time again, we see Republicans fold like cheap lawn chairs. Senator Murkowski said it was a bad bill. Then why the hell would you vote for it? I'm here to stand up against a bill that kicks 17 million Americans off of their health care.
It's very, very bad and very, very well said. But to continue, House nearing final vote on Trump's big, beautiful bill. And this is how it works. The House voted 219 to 213 overnight Thursday after hours of delay to advance President Trump's big, beautiful bill for debate before a final vote. GOP leaders had to overcome pushback over changes the Senate made to the legislation. The final vote is expected soon. The key procedural vote begins at 9:30 p.m. Wednesday and wrapped up about 3:20 a.m. as GOP holdouts were pressured to vote yes. The debate following the vote lasted roughly an hour, after which House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was addressing the chamber. Speaker Mike Johnson is expected to do the same, followed by the final vote. Jeffries was spending much of his time telling of people who would be severely hurt by the huge cuts. Trump was lobbying behind the scenes. Minutes before the key procedural vote began, Mr. Trump said on Truth Social that the GOP is united. But hours later, a handful of Republican holdouts didn't appear to be budging. The president's mood seemed to sour. What are the Republicans waiting for? He said. For Republicans, this should be easy, ridiculous. House GOP leaders had aimed to move ahead quickly on the signature legislation of Trump's second-term agenda, but some House Republicans were unhappy with the Senate changes. Potential holdouts, including moderates and members of the conservative House Freedom Caucus, met with Mr. Trump on Wednesday as the White House pressured House Republicans to vote for the bill. One lawmaker called the meetings very productive. GOP Representative Andy Harris of Maryland, the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, told reporters that he expected the procedural vote to fail in the afternoon. Finally, the House Rules Committee advanced the Senate changes to the bill, setting up more action on the floor. We will see what happens over the next day or two. I will be relentlessly covering it. If you want to join the crew below, hit subscribe. I love you all, and peace out.